A sensible but surprisingly satisfying family hatchback choice, Toyota's Auris is significantly improved in facelifted form. Buyers who decide with head rather than heart will love it more than ever. In replacing the Corolla, the best-selling passenger car of all time, Toyota's Auris had plenty to live up to when it was originally launched back in 2007. Now, the Japanese maker reckons it knows better than motoring journalists what family hatchback buyers really want, and 35 million worldwide Corolla sales suggest that they might have a point. So the Auris, its name derived from the Latin aurum for gold, arrived as a safe and sensible choice that built upon the strengths of its predecessor without threatening the Golf and Focus fraternity in any particular way. When the time came for a facelift, however, Toyota was prepared to push the boundaries a bit, to sharpen the styling, to tune the handling for bumpy British roads, use their optimal drive technology for top-class running costs, even to introduce the sector's first hybrid model, all of which has brought us this improved version. It still won't be one the motoring hacks drool over, but it could very well, Toyota think, be the one you keep coming back to once you've weighed up all the alternatives. Let's find out if they're right. Though this won't be the kind of car you take and throw down the nearest back road, there's one thing that the Auris has always been very good at: cosseting its customers. Turn the key, and even if you haven't gone for the hybrid version, you pretty much to turn the radio off to properly hear the engine. Without the fancy multi-link rear suspension you'd find in a Focus or a Golf, this won't be a car for the true enthusiast. But the typical Auris customer won't care, preferring this car's solidity and the quiet and accomplished way that it absorbs all manner of surfaces. What's different with this improved version, though, is the way that should you need to press on over a bumpy back road, the car will now work with you, thanks to the time that Toyota has spent better tuning the handling to British B roads. The tall shape is now less susceptible to crosswinds at higher speeds too. And it's no accident that the previously rather woolly electric power steering is now more direct and responsive than before. Now, none of this is quite enough to justify installing a really powerful engine under the bonnet, so practical as ever, Toyota hasn't bothered, which means we're left with a range built around 100 and 130 brake horsepower 1.33 or 1.6 litre petrol engines, or a 90 brake horsepower 1.4 litre D4D common rail diesel. 0 to 60 takes 13.1 seconds in the 1.33 petrol that I'm driving here, 11.9 seconds in the diesel, the 1.4, and 10 seconds in the 1.6 litre petrol. Eco-warriors, who understandably find those sort of figures somewhat irrelevant, will probably be more interested in the 1.8 litre petrol-electric hybrid HSD model, which has a combined power output of 134 brake horsepower. That's comparable to a conventional 2 litre petrol or diesel alternative. Now, this isn't the kind of car you buy in a bid to get noticed, but even given its conservative design brief, the original Auris did champion anonymity to an impressive degree. Hence the tweaks made to this improved version that Toyota say go all the way back to the sheet metal. The front end, for example, is restyled with these fresh, deeper bumpers and their integrated fog lamps sitting below these smarter, swept-back headlamps. The revised bonnet profile with its sharper creases, the Toyota family grille, building on the look already established by this Auris's larger Verso and Avensis stablemates. There are nice detail touches too, like the way that the turn indicators are now integrated into the door mirrors. At the rear, a neat strip of chrome across the top of the number plate complements revised lamp clusters and further revised bumpers with extended corner sections to create what the stylists call a catamaran look, whatever that is. And the interior, well, that always was a bit more cutting edge than the panel work. The dramatic looking centre console that houses the handbrake and gear lever arched up and away from the floor to form a kind of flying buttress. The French designers who created this were apparently inspired by a certain Paris cathedral leading the original version of this car to be dubbed the hatchback of Notre Dame. But I digress. Anyway, there's storage under this thing, and its high surface does enable the short gear stick to fall more easily to hand. All of which is much as before, except for the smarter silvery surface. But there is a greater perception of quality in this car now, thanks mainly to the soft touch surface along the top of the dash and on the top of the glove box here. There's sharper white illumination for the dials too. Perhaps what's most important about this car though is the way that it's been designed from the inside outwards. The development team maximising occupant space in one of the biggest shapes in the sector by employing things like a completely flat rear passenger floor and high window surfaces. Now that floor is one of the first things that you notice sitting here in the back, and it means you really can sit 3 adults properly across the back seat, which is unusual in a car of this sector. There are nice touches too, like the way that you can recline these rear seats for extra comfort on longer journeys. Out back, though the boot is shorter and narrower than some rivals, it still offers a healthy 354 litres of space, and that's before you start flattening the 60/40 folding split rear seat. Now, list pricing suggests that you'll be paying somewhere between £15,000 and £18,000 for your Auris. Think carefully before you choose the 1.4 litre D4D diesel over its 1.33 litre petrol equivalent, given the £2,000 premium required for it. Now that pricing looks good value against the list figures quoted by obvious rivals like Ford's Focus and Vauxhall's Astra. It's more affordable than you might think, given Toyota's quality reputation. Now, whether you choose 1.33 or 1.6 litre petrol power, or indeed the 1.4 litre diesel, you've got only 2 body styles from which to choose, a 3 or a 5-door hatch. This conventional shape also offered in the 1.4 litre hybrid HSD version. Still, all are pretty well equipped with features like air conditioning, front electric windows and mirrors, a rather nice flat-bottomed leather-trimmed steering wheel, a CD player and central locking. You also get reasonable safety kit too, with the front, side and curtain airbags, plus an airbag for the driver's knee, though ESP electronic stability control is only optional. There's a 6-speed gearbox, manual gearbox as standard, plus there is the option of Toyota's semi-automatic multi-mode transmission if you want it. Now, owning one of these is virtually certain to be a pleasantly incident and cost-free experience. The headlines inevitably are made by the 1.8 litre HSD hybrid model, able to deliver up to 74.3 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle, and CO2 figure returns as low as 89 grams per kilometre. Nevertheless, Toyota's optimal drive technology means that even the standard models may well surprise you with their parsimony. Take this 1.33 litre petrol version, able to deliver 48.7 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 136 grams per kilometre of CO2. That compares to the 1.6 litre petrol variant, which manages 153 grams per kilometre of CO2 and 43 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle. If you go for the diesel, expect around 60 miles to the gallon on the combined reading and around 125 grams per kilometre of CO2. Now, these figures compare well to rivals with similar engines. Insurance groupings are affordable, Group 10E to 16E under the old system, and that's partly down to the way that this car is very affordable to maintain. The front bumper reinforcements feature a bolt-on structure so that the consequences of a front-end nudge are that bit cheaper for your insurer. Likewise, the radiator struts retract back to protect the cooling units in the event of an accident. Discounts may be hard to obtain, but residual values are strong. Expect 43% after 3 years for the 1.6 litre petrol, and that's leagues better than your average Golf or Astra hatch. If you're the kind of person that brings uncompromising reason to the purchasing decision when it comes to buying yourself a new family hatchback, then you'll bond with this Auris immediately. optimal drive technology, hybrid power, low servicing costs, impressive residuals. It'll all be music to your ears. In this improved form, of course, this Toyota offers a little more than that, and the careful revisions made are welcome. Still though, the essential character of this car hasn't changed. It may not be the most charismatic family hatchback you can buy, or the best dynamically, but when it comes to solid ownership values, it's a car you can't ignore.